My beloved brothers and sisters, there are times in life when Allah allows us to see something about a person that we were previously blind to. Sometimes it comes slowly through subtle patterns, and sometimes it comes suddenly like a veil being lifted. Either way, it is a form of mercy. Allah does not expose someone's true nature to embarrass them. He exposes it to protect you. Many of us carry emotional pain not because of poverty or sickness, but because of people. People whom we trusted, people whom we loved, people we welcomed into our hearts. They spoke beautifully, promised us loyalty, acted as if they cared, yet their actions silently contradicted everything their words suggested. That confusion you felt, that heaviness you carried, that sense of betrayal, Allah already described this type of person in the Quran long before their footsteps entered your life. Allah tells us about a certain type of person whose speech instantly impresses you. Their words sound polished, beautiful, and convincing. You listen to them and feel as though they possess wisdom, kindness, refinement, and sincerity. They might speak gently, use religious phrases, compliment you, or show emotional softness in a way that makes you feel comforted. From the outside, they appear like someone with a pure heart and noble intentions. You might even find yourself thinking, this person is remarkable, they understand me, they care, they are genuine. Many people fall into this feeling because human beings naturally get drawn toward those who speak well. But Allah warns us that impressive speech does not always reflect an impressive character. Sometimes the people who speak the most beautifully are the ones whose hearts are struggling with qualities we do not see. Behind the charming tone may exist stubbornness, ego, pride, dishonesty, or manipulation. Behind the calm voice may be a person who loves to argue, who refuses to accept responsibility, or who carries intentions that are not as pure as they pretend. Allah describes this type of person in a powerful verse. He says, there are people whose speech impresses you in worldly matters, and they confidently swear by Allah to convince you that their intentions are good, but in reality, they are among the strongest opponents to truth. Think about that for a moment. The person speaks well, behaves politely, and even uses Allah's name to prove their sincerity, yet their behavior reveals the opposite. They resist honesty, they create conflict, they stir negativity, or they misuse the trust you gave them. Their true nature comes out in their actions, not in their words. The message is clear. Never judge someone's heart by how beautifully they speak. Sweet speech can hide a bitter heart. A soft voice can hide arrogance. A religious vocabulary can hide insincerity. And a person who repeatedly says, trust me, can be the same person who abuses that trust when they think you are not paying attention. Many people fall victim to this illusion because humans naturally respond to tone, emotion, and vocabulary. Someone might speak about kindness, humility, honesty, or love, but their actions show hypocrisy. They might speak with tears in their eyes, yet treat others unjustly. They might remind you about faith, but live a life of contradiction behind closed doors. The danger is not that they speak well, but that we allow their speech to blind us from the reality of their behavior. This verse teaches us something essential. Judge people by consistency, not charm. Consistency is the real indicator of sincerity. Anyone can say the right words for a short time. Anyone can pretend to be compassionate or religious when they want admiration. Anyone can sound wise when giving advice to others, but sincerity becomes clear only when you observe someone over time. Do they keep their promises? Do they behave with honesty when no one is watching? Do they treat people with respect even when they gain nothing from it? Do they apologize when they are wrong? Do they show humility? Or do they become defensive every time they are confronted? These behaviors reveal a person's true nature far more accurately than their speech ever can. Another important point from this verse is the warning against people who use religion to convince you of their sincerity. When someone constantly says, trust me, I fear God, or believe me, I'm a good person, or I swear by Allah, it should make you think carefully. Why do they need to forcefully swear or repeatedly claim they are sincere? True sincerity does not require self-advertisement. A person who is genuinely honest does not need to insist on their honesty. Their behavior speaks for them. Their character speaks for them. Their track record speaks for them. When someone constantly uses strong declarations to make you believe in their goodness, it may be a sign that they are trying to cover something. Allah also describes these individuals as strong opponents. This means they may appear peaceful, but when conflict arises, they become extremely stubborn, defensive, or aggressive. They refuse to accept correction. They argue relentlessly. They twist words, shift blame, or create unnecessary hostility. They might even portray themselves as victims to gain sympathy while quietly harming others. Their opposition is not physical, it is emotional, mental, and moral. They resist truth in subtle and clever ways. This type of person can cause emotional confusion. One moment they speak beautifully, the next moment their actions wound you. One moment they seem caring, the next moment they show no concern for your feelings. You find yourself trying to reconcile the two sides of them. How can someone who speaks so well do something so hurtful? How can a person who talks about goodness behave with arrogance? This conflict is exactly why Allah warns you to protect your heart from becoming trapped in a cycle of confusion and self-blame. The lesson is not to become harsh or suspicious of everyone you meet. The lesson is to develop clarity. Allah wants you to value actions over words. He wants you to look at patterns, not promises. He wants you to understand that real sincerity comes from humility, consistency, and responsible behavior, not impressive vocabulary or emotional expressions. If someone's speech is beautiful, but their behavior causes harm, then Allah is showing you something. If someone talks about kindness but treats people poorly, Allah is exposing their inconsistency. If someone constantly praises themselves, constantly swears they are sincere, or constantly insists that you trust them, Allah is reminding you to open your eyes and observe cautiously. Real goodness is not in how someone talks, it is in how someone lives. Real sincerity is not in declarations, it is in daily conduct. And real trustworthiness is not in emotional speeches, it is in honest actions, even when it is difficult. Allah wants to protect you from being fooled by charm. He wants your judgment to be grounded in wisdom, not emotion. He wants your trust to be given to those who deserve it, not those who decorate their speech to gain it. This verse is a reminder that not every smiling face is sincere, not every soft voice is pure, and not every beautiful speech reflects a beautiful heart. Observe people with calmness, wisdom, and patience, and Allah will show you who is real and who only sounds real. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, also warned us about this kind of personality, not to make us judgmental, but to protect us from being blindsided by harmful behavior. He described certain traits that reveal a pattern that tells you a person is not who their words claim they are. He said that when such a person speaks, they lie. When they make a promise, they break it. And when they are trusted with something important, whether it is your secret, your money, or your dignity, they betray that trust. These are heavy signs because they describe someone whose outward image may look respectable, but whose actions quietly cause damage. This description is not meant for us to label people or degrade them. It is meant to open our eyes. Many of us have been hurt because we only listened to what someone said and we ignored what their behavior revealed. Some people speak as if they are the most honest, the most loyal, the most trustworthy, yet their actions repeatedly tell a different story. Words are easy, actions require inner truth. Many people can speak about honesty, but only a few live it. Many can appear charming, but only a few remain reliable when it matters. What is more painful and more confusing is that this type of person might genuinely believe that they are good-hearted. They might even see themselves as sincere. They may convince themselves that they never lie, even when they do. They may convince themselves that breaking promises is no big deal. They may minimize their own behavior and shift responsibility onto others. This is what makes their personality so difficult to understand. Their charm blinds them to their faults, and your kindness blinds you to their patterns. This is why the Prophet emphasized behavior. He didn't say judge them by how kind they sound. He didn't say judge them by how emotional they are. He didn't say judge them by how often they talk about religion. He gave us 3 practical signs: speech, promises, and trust, because these are the areas where a person's true nature becomes visible. Someone who lies casually cannot be trusted when things get serious. Someone who breaks promises constantly will eventually break your heart. Someone who betrays trust once will likely do it again whenever it benefits them. It is important to understand that these traits can appear in people around you in subtle ways. A person may not tell massive lies, but they lie in small things on a daily basis. A person may not make huge promises, but they promise simple commitments they never keep. A person may not betray your biggest secrets, but they casually reveal things you ask them to keep private. These small acts are not innocent. They reveal a deeper problem. They show that someone's relationship with honesty, responsibility, and loyalty is weak. And if these foundations are weak, no relationship with them can be truly stable. Sometimes you will meet people who lie even when there is no reason to lie. They promise things just to look good in the moment, but they have no intention of following through. They speak emotionally to gain sympathy, but when it comes to actual effort, they disappear. They swear they care, but their actions show that they care only when it benefits them. These contradictions are not accidents, they are indicators. They tell you that you are dealing with someone who lives behind a mask, a person whose public image is crafted, not authentic. Many people in relationships suffer because they cling to the person's words instead of observing their actions. A person may say, trust me, but then behave in ways that destroy trust. They may say, I love you, yet treat you in ways that make you feel unvalued. They may say, I will change, but make no effort toward change. They may say, I didn't mean it, even though they repeat the same harm again and again. These are the patterns the Prophet warned us about. When someone's words consistently comfort you, but their actions consistently hurt you, you are not dealing with sincerity, you are dealing with manipulation, whether intentional or not. One of the reasons this type of person is so difficult to identify is because they are often extremely smooth with their speech. They know how to say the right things. They know how to calm you down. They know how to apologize in a way that makes you doubt your own intuition. They may even use emotional expressions, tears, guilt, or dramatic statements to make you feel responsible for their behavior. But once the moment passes, their actions remain the same. Nothing changes. Allah is teaching you through experience what their words try to hide. Some people argue not because they are right, but because they cannot accept being wrong. They push blame onto you to avoid looking at themselves. They twist your words to escape accountability. They create confusion so you lose confidence in your own judgment. They argue endlessly because admitting a mistake feels impossible for them. These are the strong opponents. Allah warned about people who fight truth even when they speak as if they love it. When Allah repeatedly shows you the same behavior, broken trust, broken promises, dishonesty, manipulation, defensiveness, blame shifting, He is telling you, open your eyes. This is not about hating the person. It is about protecting yourself from harm. You are responsible for your heart. You are responsible for your emotional well-being. You are responsible for choosing who has access to your inner world. Walking away from harmful patterns is not cruelty, it is courage. Distance is not rejection, it is protection. Setting boundaries is not arrogance, it is wisdom. The Prophet ﷺ in Aslim Sihi, the Prophet's warning is not a label to place on others. It is a mirror to help you see what you would have missed. It is a guide to keep you safe. Allah wants to protect your peace. He wants to protect your heart. He wants you to choose relationships based on consistency, not charm, on truth, not talent, on character, not words. And when someone repeatedly reveals through their actions that they are unsafe for your heart, Allah's telling you, pay attention, you deserve sincerity, you deserve truth, you deserve people whose actions match their words. Many people today are not suffering because they lack blessings. They're not suffering because they don't have money or a job or a home or food. They are suffering because they allowed the wrong people into the wrong places in their lives. They opened their hearts to people who were never meant to hold that level of access. They trusted people who were not capable of carrying that trust. They invested emotionally in people who did not have the maturity, sincerity, or stability to respond with care. And as a result, they lost their peace, their clarity, and sometimes even their connection with Allah. It's rarely the stranger who wounds you deeply. It's almost always someone you let close, someone you defended, someone you believed in, someone you excused repeatedly. This is because the heart expects safety from those it allows inside. When harm comes from outside, it hurts. But when harm comes from someone you trusted, it breaks. That is why Allah spends so much time in the Quran warning us about character, intention, sincerity, and behavior. Not because we should become suspicious of everyone, but because the heart is too valuable to be handed to just anyone who appears kind in the beginning. A person can pull you away from Allah without ever saying, stop praying. It doesn't need to be that obvious. They don't have to tell you to abandon your salah or your Quran. They don't have to openly encourage sin. Sometimes they simply drain you emotionally. They fill your life with stress, arguments, and complications. They occupy your thoughts so much that you have no space left for Allah. They bring so much drama, so much negativity, so many emotional storms that your heart becomes exhausted. And when the heart is exhausted, the worship becomes heavy. People often underestimate how much relationships affect spirituality. Your environment shapes your heart, and your heart shapes your worship. If your environment is filled with conflict, disrespect, dishonesty, or manipulation, you cannot expect your heart to remain unaffected. You might still pray, but your prayer feels heavy. You might still make dua, but your mind is distracted. You might still read Quran, but your heart feels distant. Not because Allah is far, but because someone else is taking up too much emotional space inside you. Sometimes the person you let close slowly pulls you away from good deeds, not by saying anything, but simply by creating a life where worship becomes less frequent, less meaningful, less central. You spend time trying to fix the relationship, trying to calm the problems, trying to decode their behavior, trying to heal from their words. All that emotional energy is being used for survival instead of growth. And before you realize it, Allah becomes secondary while the conflict becomes primary. That is not companionship, that is corrosion. It wears down your emotional strength. It corrodes your dignity. It exhausts your heart. It leaves you spiritually weaker and mentally drained. And Allah does not want you to be corroded. He wants your companionship to uplift you, not drag you down. He wants the people around you to help you remember Him, not pull you into a cycle of stress, tears, and insecurity. When someone consistently drains you, weakens your character, or makes you compromise your principles, you have to understand something very important. Your soul is sending you a message. Your spiritual discomfort is not random. It is a sign. When the heart feels heavy around someone, when your worship declines, when your patience gets used up, when you constantly feel unsettled, Allah is showing you something. He is letting you feel the weight of the relationship so you recognize that it is harming you. And sometimes the most dangerous people are not the openly aggressive ones. They are the ones who are kind one day and cruel the next. They are warm in the morning and cold by evening. They smile at you but speak negatively about you when you're not there. They give you affection as long as you please them, but withdraw the moment you set a boundary. They confuse your heart until you don't know what version of them will show up tomorrow. These emotional patterns can suffocate a person internally, even if everything looks normal from the outside. Many people stay in these emotionally draining relationships because they hope the good moments will return. They remember the early kindness, the early charm, the early sweetness. They keep believing that the person will go back to who they were in the beginning. But often the beginning was the mask and the later behavior is the reality. It is not your job to fix someone's character. It is not your responsibility to heal every broken person. It is not your duty to sacrifice your peace to maintain a bond that Allah is clearly warning you about. People say, but I've invested so much time, or I don't want to give up, or maybe things will change. The truth is, not everyone you love is meant to stay close. Some people enter your life as lessons, not lifelong companions. Some people are meant to teach you boundaries, self-respect, and emotional maturity. Some people show you what to avoid so that when Allah sends someone sincere, you recognize the difference immediately. Allah does not want your heart to live in turmoil. He wants you to experience relationships based on trust, clarity, and sincerity. He wants you to have people in your life whose presence brings calmness, not anxiety. People whose words match their actions. People who uplift your faith, not drain your energy. People who speak with honesty and behave with consistency. If you find yourself constantly anxious, constantly apologizing, constantly doubting yourself, constantly feeling guilty, constantly walking on eggshells around someone, then something is deeply wrong. Healthy relationships do not suffocate your soul. They do not block your worship. They do not make you fear being yourself. They do not push you away from Allah. When Allah shows you the truth about a person through repeated behavior, believe what He's showing you. It is not punishment, it is protection. It is not loss, it is mercy. It is not the end, it is the beginning of your healing. You deserve peace. You deserve sincerity. You deserve people who make your heart lighter, not heavier. When Allah reveals the nature of someone who is damaging your soul, He is not trying to hurt you, He is trying to save you. So how do we protect ourselves from this kind of harm? The answer is not to become cold, suspicious, or hard-hearted. Islam does not ask you to shut the world out. Instead, Allah teaches you to be aware, observant, and wise in the way you evaluate people. He wants you to use your heart, but He also wants you to use your mind. Protecting yourself does not mean building walls, it means building clarity. One of the most important steps is to stop measuring people by how beautifully they speak. Words can be rehearsed, words can be decorated, words can be polished to create an image that is far from the truth. Anyone can say the right things for a few days or weeks. Anyone can behave wonderfully in the beginning. Anyone can pretend to have strong values when there is something they want from you. That is why judging a person by their initial charm is one of the easiest ways to be deceived. Instead, measure people by consistency. True character appears over time. A sincere person will be sincere today, next week, next month, and next year. Their behavior does not change depending on who is watching, who benefits them, or what they want. You will see stability in their actions, reliability in their words, and honesty in their decisions. When someone's goodness is real, it does not fade after the early phase of the relationship. It does not switch on and off based on convenience. It does not vanish the moment they are inconvenienced. Another way to understand someone's true nature is to observe how they behave when they are angry. Anger is like a window into the heart. Some people control their anger with dignity. They may get upset, but they never lose their manners, never insult, never degrade, and never become cruel. Their values remain intact even under pressure. But others become unrecognizable when they are angry. They insult, they disrespect, they lash out, they hurt you with words, they behave as if kindness and compassion no longer exist. That change reveals their internal reality. Anger does not create ugliness, it exposes it. If someone treats you well only when everything is easy, that is not a sign of good character. Good character shows itself when a person is under stress, when they're disappointed, when they don't get their way. If their reaction is to punish you emotionally, to become cold, to withdraw affection, to disrespect you, or to blame you unfairly, then you are seeing a truth that their polished speech could never reveal. Another important sign is how someone treats people who have nothing to offer them. This is one of the most truthful measures of integrity. Anyone can be kind to the wealthy, the influential, the attractive, or the powerful. But how do they treat the waiter at the restaurant, the cleaner, the taxi driver, the security guard, the employee, the person who greets them but cannot elevate their status? If they treat such people with arrogance, indifference, or disrespect, then you are seeing who they truly are. Kindness toward those who cannot benefit you is one of the strongest indicators of sincerity. Protecting your heart also means understanding that not everyone deserves equal access to you. You can be polite to everyone, respectful to everyone, generous to everyone, but that does not mean everyone should be allowed into your inner circle. Your emotional life, your personal struggles, your secrets, and your vulnerabilities should not be handed out freely. You must learn to give access based on trust that has been earned, not based on charm that was performed. Some people should be kept at a healthy distance. You can smile at them, greet them, and treat them well, but you don't need to let them into your private world. Others may be kind on the surface, but inconsistent in their behavior, and these people should not be relied upon. There are also people you may forgive, but forgiveness does not mean allowing them to hurt you again. You can forgive someone with your heart, but separate yourself with wisdom. Islam teaches balance. Protect your heart without poisoning it. Love people for the sake of Allah, but do not attach your sense of worth or peace to their behavior. Be kind, but do not be naive. Be forgiving, but do not allow repeated harm. Be gentle, but do not allow manipulation. This is how you maintain spiritual and emotional health. Another crucial part of protecting yourself is to pay attention to patterns, not exceptions. A single apology does not erase a repeated behavior. A single good deed does not cancel a consistent pattern of disrespect. A single emotional moment does not replace years of inconsistency. Many people confuse one emotional speech or one dramatic apology as a sign of change, but real change is proven only by actions over time. A person who truly wants to improve will show you effort, humility, responsibility, and gradual change. A person who only wants to keep you close without improving will use emotional expressions, empty promises, or guilt to keep you from walking away. Look at the pattern, not the performance. The pattern reveals the truth. Another protection Allah gives us is intuition, the feeling in your heart when something is not right. Many people ignore this feeling because they fear losing someone or because they don't want to seem harsh. But intuition is a gift. When your heart becomes restless around someone, when you feel drained, when something feels off, even though their words are charming, listen carefully. Allah often allows you to feel discomfort before you see the full truth. Do not ignore what your heart is trying to tell you. And finally, one of the greatest protections is to surround yourself with people who bring you closer to Allah, people who make you feel calm, hopeful, motivated, and sincere. People whose presence softens your heart instead of hardening it. People who remind you to be grateful, not fearful. People whose character inspires you to become a better version of yourself. When you protect your environment, you protect your heart. And when you protect your heart, you protect your faith. This is why Allah warns us about harmful personalities, not to make us harsh toward them, but to make us careful with ourselves. You deserve relationships that nourish your soul, not relationships that damage it. And protecting yourself is not selfishness, it is responsibility, it is wisdom. It is obedience to the guidance Allah has given you. You do not need to cut people off in a harsh or dramatic way in order to protect your heart. Islam is not a religion of cruelty or coldness. Allah does not ask you to slam doors, insult people, or burn bridges. What He asks you to do is to be wise with the access you allow others to have. Not everyone deserves to sit in the most delicate parts of your life. Not everyone deserves to be deeply involved in your emotions. Not everyone deserves the privilege of knowing your struggles, your dreams, your fears, or your weaknesses. A big part of emotional maturity is understanding that you can keep someone in your life without allowing them to have influence over your heart. There is a difference between being kind to someone and giving them the power to affect your peace. You can be kind from a distance. You can be respectful from a distance. You can greet people warmly, help them when they're in need, make dua for them, and still keep your boundaries intact. Distance is not disrespect. Silence is not hostility. Limiting access is not arrogance. It is simply wisdom. Many people confuse closeness with kindness. They feel guilty for stepping back from someone who repeatedly harms them emotionally. They think, if I create distance, am I being a bad Muslim? Am I abandoning them? Am I being selfish? But the truth is the opposite. You are responsible for protecting your heart. You are responsible for protecting your mental and spiritual health. You are responsible for the condition of your faith. And you cannot maintain these responsibilities while allowing someone to constantly drain you, unsettle you, or damage your confidence. Some people need to be loved from afar because their closeness is harmful. Their presence creates confusion, but their distance brings clarity. Their involvement creates emotional storms, but their absence brings inner calm. Their behavior makes you feel small, but stepping back gives you the space to regain your strength. These are the people who must remain in your life only in a limited capacity. You wish them well, you greet them warmly, you help them when appropriate, but you do not hand them the keys to your heart. Then there are people who deserve respect but not dependence. You can smile at them, speak kindly, and treat them with dignity, but you do not rely on them for emotional support or guidance. You do not share your deepest thoughts with them. You do not expect loyalty from them. These are the people whose nature is unpredictable, whose consistency is unreliable, and whose sincerity is questionable. They are not your enemies, but they are not your safe place either. There are also people whom you may forgive, but forgiveness does not require allowing them back into the same position they once held. Many people think that forgiving someone means returning to how things were before. But forgiveness and access are two separate things. You can forgive someone in your heart and still keep a distance. You can forgive someone and still maintain strong boundaries. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself from being hurt again. Forgiveness frees you from bitterness, but boundaries free you from repeated harm. Allah does not ask you to be naive. He asks you to be compassionate, but He does not ask you to abandon common sense. He asks you to be patient, but He does not ask you to tolerate abuse. He asks you to be gentle, but He does not ask you to allow anyone to break you emotionally. The religion teaches mercy, but it also teaches protection, dignity, and self-respect. Another important truth is that not everyone is ready or willing to change. You cannot fix someone who refuses to look at their own behavior. You cannot heal someone who believes their harm is your fault. You cannot teach humility to someone who does not see their pride. You cannot force emotional maturity into someone who clings to blame and denial. And you certainly cannot build a stable relationship with someone who does not see the need to improve. Trying to fix people drains you. Trying to rescue people who do not want to be rescued leaves you exhausted. Trying to hold on to relationships that Allah is trying to remove from your life damages your soul. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and even for the other person is to step back. Distance gives clarity. Space allows reflection. Boundaries allow both hearts to reset. And sometimes separation is the only way someone realizes that their behavior needs to change. People often ask, how do I know when to step back? The answer is simple. When the relationship begins to cost you your peace, your clarity, your dignity, or your connection with Allah. When you find yourself in a cycle of confusion, emotional pain, or constant anxiety. When you begin to question your worth, doubt your judgment, or lose your energy, These are signs that the relationship is draining your spirit rather than nourishing it. You know, a relationship is unhealthy when you feel more fear than comfort, more doubt than trust, more stress than peace, more guilt than gratitude. When your heart feels unsettled, it is a sign from Allah. When your spirit feels heavy, it is a warning. When your intuition repeatedly tells you something is wrong, it is not paranoia, it is protection. Healthy relationships do not suffocate you. They do not make you feel worthless. They do not confuse your heart. They do not demand that you shrink yourself in order to be loved. They do not ask you to compromise your values. They do not punish you for honesty. They do not force you to walk on eggshells, always afraid of triggering someone's anger or disappointment. Healthy relationships make you feel safe. They support your growth. They motivate you toward better worship. They bring out your best qualities. They encourage honesty, kindness, stability, and compassion. They bring you closer to Allah, not farther away. This is why protecting your heart is not selfish, it is necessary. When you protect your heart, you protect your faith. When you guard your emotional space, you guard your spiritual space. And when you step away from what harms you, you step toward what Allah has written for you. Boundaries are not a lack of love. Boundaries are a form of self-respect. Boundaries are a form of gratitude to Allah for the heart He entrusted you with. Boundaries are a declaration that you understand your worth. And when you finally begin to place these boundaries, you will notice that your heart becomes lighter, your mind becomes clearer, and your connection with Allah becomes stronger. The right people will respect your boundaries, the wrong people will be offended by them. That alone should tell you everything you need to know. A believer must also remember the importance of surrounding themselves with people who bring them closer to Allah, not farther away. Human beings are influenced by their environment more than they realize. You may think you are strong, stable, and independent, but the truth is that the company you keep quietly shapes your thoughts, your habits, your values, and even your spiritual condition. This is not something you feel all at once. It happens gradually, just like a drop of water wearing down stone over time. When someone's presence brings you closer to goodness, you feel it in your heart immediately. You feel a sense of calm. You feel encouraged. You feel stronger. You feel inspired to be better, kinder, more patient, more thankful. These are the people whom Allah places in your life as a source of mercy. When you sit with them, you feel lighter. When you speak to them, your heart becomes softer. When you part from them, you feel motivated to improve yourself. You don't feel drained, confused, or insecure. Instead, you feel nourished. Such people do not have to lecture you. Sometimes they don't even speak about religion directly, but their presence is a reminder of Allah because of their character. Their manners reflect honesty. Their interactions reflect humility. Their tone reflects gentleness. Their decisions reflect responsibility. Their actions reflect faith. And through their behavior, you learn what sincerity truly looks like. These are the people worth keeping close. But when someone consistently brings turmoil, confusion, emotional heaviness, or distance from Allah, you must pay attention. Some people are not evil at all, but their impact on your heart is heavy. They do not lift you, they drain you. They do not encourage your worship, they distract you from it. They do not bring clarity, they bring confusion. They do not strengthen your patience, they push you to react impulsively. And they do not make you feel more grateful, they make you feel more resentful or overwhelmed. Often it is not intentional. Many people do not realize the weight they carry. Many do not understand the emotional effect their words and actions have on others. But whether intentional or not, the impact is still real. You cannot let emotional loyalty blind you to spiritual consequences. If someone's presence repeatedly weakens your character, makes you feel distant from Allah, or fills your heart with negative emotions, then Allah is showing you that your heart is not safe in that environment. Many people ignore this because they hold on to hope. They say maybe they will change, or maybe this is temporary, or maybe the problem is me. But patterns do not lie. When a person's effect on your life is consistently negative, and nothing improves no matter how much effort you put in, it is time to step back and protect your heart. And this is where one of the most important prayers becomes essential. You must regularly ask Allah to show you the truth as it really is and to allow you to follow it. You must ask Him to show you falsehood clearly so you can avoid it. This prayer is not only about identifying wrong beliefs, it is about identifying unhealthy people, harmful habits, and toxic environments. When you sincerely ask Allah for clarity, He will show you reality in a way you cannot deny. Sometimes He shows you through repeated behavior, sometimes through your own emotional exhaustion, sometimes through events that reveal someone's true character, and sometimes through a sudden insight that you cannot explain. When Allah opens your eyes, it is a gift. Some people see this clarity as painful, but in reality, it is a form of protection. Allah opens your eyes before that person destroys your confidence. He opens your eyes before the relationship damages your faith. He opens your eyes before you lose years of your life trying to fix something that was never meant to be fixed. He opens your eyes so you can walk away with dignity, not collapse with regret. Surround yourself with people who want good for you, not only in this world, but in the hereafter. People who celebrate your progress, not your setbacks. People who speak to you with respect in public and in private. People who correct you gently when you make mistakes. People who speak honestly, not manipulatively. People who pray for you when you're not around. People who inspire you to be a better Muslim simply by being who they are. These people might not be the loudest. They might not be the most charming. They might not have the most attractive personalities or the most impressive speech, but their sincerity is real. Their loyalty is steady. Their character is consistent. They uplift your heart instead of breaking it. They remind you of Allah without lecturing you. And they bring light into your life without demanding anything in return. On the other hand, when someone repeatedly brings anxiety, self-doubt, or spiritual heaviness into your life, you cannot ignore that. You cannot deny how your heart feels. Your heart has a way of sensing what your eyes do not see. And when your heart feels uneasy around someone, it is not random. It is not a mistake. It is a sign. Allah designed your heart to sense danger even if your mind tries to justify it. Pay attention to that inner discomfort. Pay attention to the heaviness. Pay attention to the confusion. These feelings are not your enemy. They are guidance. And remember that the right people make your faith feel stronger, not weaker. They make worship feel lighter, not heavier. They make you feel supported, not judged. They make you feel safe, not anxious. They bring you closer to Allah simply by being who they are. If you protect your inner circle, you protect your heart. If you protect your heart, you protect your faith. And if you protect your faith, Allah will always protect you. The company you choose today becomes the quality of your heart tomorrow. Choose wisely. Choose intentionally. Choose people who bring you closer to the one who created you. My beloved brothers and sisters, as we close this reminder, I ask you to take a moment and look inward. Think about your heart, your peace, your relationship with Allah, and the people who influence your life. Every person you keep close shapes you in some way. Every word you absorb leaves a trace. Every relationship alters the direction of your heart, even if you don't feel it immediately. That is why Allah guides us so carefully, so gently, and so repeatedly, because the state of your heart determines the state of your life, your worship, and your journey toward Him. Now let us raise our hands and ask Allah for what truly matters. Oh Allah, protect our hearts from people who bring pain, confusion, or harm. Guard us from those who pretend to be sincere while hiding intentions that damage our peace. Remove from our lives anyone who is harmful for our faith, our dignity, or our emotional well-being, even if we do not yet understand why. O Allah, surround us with people who are honest, loyal, pure, and compassionate. Fill our lives with those who remind us of you through their character and actions. Bless us with friends, spouses, and family members whose presence strengthens our faith and brings tranquility to our hearts. O Allah, soften our hearts when they become hard, heal them when they are wounded, and purify them when they are clouded by fear, doubt, or emotional scars. Replace every sadness with comfort, every confusion with clarity, and every burden with relief. Heal us from the wounds caused by people we trusted. Restore our confidence, rebuild our strength, and renew our hope. O Allah, give us the wisdom to recognize unhealthy relationships. Give us the courage to walk away from what harms us. Give us the strength to set boundaries with elegance and mercy. Give us the insight to see people as they truly are, not as we wish they would be. And give us the ability to forgive without allowing ourselves to be harmed repeatedly. O Allah, allow us to love others in a way that pleases you, not in a way that destroys us. Let our compassion be balanced with wisdom. Let our kindness be balanced with strength. Let our patience be balanced with self-respect. Let our hearts be gentle but never naive. Let our relationships be sources of peace, not pain. O Allah, make every person in our lives either a blessing that brings us closer to you or a lesson that strengthens us in wisdom and maturity. And if someone is destined to break our hearts, then remove them before they reach that point and replace them with someone better, someone sincere, stable, and good for our dunya and akhirah. O Allah, bless our homes with peace, bless our hearts with light, bless our souls with sincerity, bless our minds with clarity, and bless our steps with guidance. Do not allow us to be misled by charming words or deceived by false appearances. Show us truth clearly and help us follow it. Show us harm clearly and help us avoid it. O Allah, grant us a life filled with good company, meaningful relationships, and a heart that remains firmly attached to you, no matter who comes or goes. Make us among those whose character is beautiful, whose speech is honest, whose intentions are pure, and whose hearts never tire of seeking your pleasure. O Allah, never leave us to our own thoughts, our own emotions, or our own weaknesses. Hold us, guide us, protect us, and bring us closer to you every single day. Accept our prayers, forgive our mistakes, and shower us with your endless mercy. Ameen, O Lord of all worlds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.